I'm going to give a quick down and dirty demonstration of how to convert a color photograph from RGB, such as this photo from Hawaii, and we're going to convert it for black and white printing. Now, in my example, we're going to use web printing, and what that means is you have dot gain factors of anywhere from 6 to 10% on a web press. It's going to vary uh, depending on your printer, and you want to check with your printer how much dot gain they're going to want you to build into your images. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with this picture, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to adjust it, and we're going to use our levels. Okay, now a couple of things have been hidden in new CS3, and we will go with curves. Did I say levels? We can go with levels. Levels is a nice place to start. And if you hold down your Option key on a Macintosh, you can see your light areas and you can see your dark areas. And you can deal with your med tones. So only hold down the Option key on the shadows. Okay, and that'll show you where your shadows are. Okay, and you want to just basically highlight those shadows and your highlights, and that'll show you where your highlights are going to be. So you just want to bring those highlights out just a little bit. Okay, do a little bit of adjusting here. Here's where we started at before, and here's where we are now. So we'll okay that. The next step we want to do is we want to go into our curves, which is Command M on a Macintosh. It may be different on a PC. I'm not using a PC right now. We're just using the Mac. So you'll notice here we have our dark on the right and our lights on the left, which means your darks are going to get darker if you move your curve this way. That's not how we want to deal with this. In Photoshop CS3, you want to go to your curve display options, and you want to switch that, and that's going to switch this and put your dark on the left, your light on the right, which is good. Okay? Because this is basically the normal way, having the light at the top and the dark at the bottom. So that way you have a little more understanding of the controls that you're dealing with. Okay? If you click and pull up while holding down on the mouse, that will change everything. As you can see, we're blowing the contrast out and everything. We can add more shadows in there. You don't want to go way too far on these items. Those things are bad. So if you click and drag and you pull off and let go, actually you snap it off. If you have a curve, you pull it, it'll go back to where it came from. Okay, so now that we have our dark to light setting for the input shown here and the output going dark from the bottom up to the top, we can close this options box. Now, normally when creating a black and white photo, we'll go ahead and make some light adjustments here so we can get some views here, get to see some of the facial features and stuff of the people in the photos, which is good. Otherwise, you'll notice that from prior, let's zoom in there again. With the preview off, you'll see how dark they are. So we're going to go ahead and fix that. Another nice thing to do when converting to black and white is I like to always go to my blue channel and add a little bit of yellow in there. And what that does is it takes your lighter areas and it's just adding more information in there. So what that newer information is going to do is it's going to convert much more properly when going to grayscale. So we're going to change and convert mode to grayscale. We're going to discard all our color information, and then we will have a grayscale image. Now we'll go back to our curves. Again, you see, this is defaulted again. So make sure you're in the right spot for this. Okay, so our lights. We have our whites down here. We see we're at 18%. Normally a good spot is 2%, but you don't want to overblow everything out at once. Okay, so we move our lights up a bit. We check our shadows. We have an 88 there. We have a 96 there. We want to keep that and anchor it down. So what that's going to do is it's going to make this curve stay like that. What we want to do is we want to change this 97 over here to a 90. Now your printer may require you to have maybe a 92% shadow, may require you to have a 3% shadow. But here we're trying to keep this down to a 2% highlight and a 90% shadow. And this is all controlled with curves. So here we have the white on top of this. You see we have a 1% here. because we are using our eyedropper to pick up these colors and see what we've got. So we can make that a nice, maybe say 3%. There we go. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. Now this is for printing. Everything is going to gain. Now you may look at the sand here. Let's do a undo the curves. The sand did lose some of its information. So we'll go back and we'll redo it, and we think about these things because you have to pay attention to what's coming and what's going. So we want to adjust our curve. We want to keep the sand there, but we still want to have our 2% up there in that uppermost white spot. As I said, 2% is a recommended amount for newsprint. And then we look over here at our highlights. We have a 98 there, so we anchor this here so every shadow keeps good, because we have some nice shadows. We still have shadows in the sand. We don't want to lose the sand. The sand is light, but it's becoming blown out. Okay, so we have to finesse these, and sometimes it takes a while to get going. So we take our 97% as shown up here, and we move that to 90. Okay, so we have a 90% over here. Okay, we're at 91. We can bring it up just a hair. Over here we have a 6%. We don't want to lose the sand because that's a crucial part of this photo is the sand. Okay, we want to get that up to 2%. And you see if you tweak it too far, you get these low dips, and these aren't good. You can go ahead and try and readjust them, but you got to keep an eye on the overall picture. Picture as a whole is the idea you want to think of. You see this woman here, her face is disappearing. So we need to go in and make adjustments that basically adjust for that. So now you lost all the sand because we have this large curve that's jumping around. Let's reset it. Normally in the print industry we would probably do something like this. Bring this back down like this. Okay, bring this over to here, go in here, go. We got our 90%. We don't have a 2% there yet, so we're going to take that up to around 2 or 3%. We don't want it to all blow out. This is basically a tough photo. But there we go. Okay, it looks okay. Took a little while to get. Then we will go in and we're going to sharpen this with an unsharp mask. Okay, you see my settings are already in. 1.3 radius, 3 threshold, which is good. 150% is not too high of sharpness. Okay, you can type that in, and there we go. We have some nice sharpness. Now we can go back in our history and see exactly what did we do, and is that going to look good? Your results may vary depending on your printer and what you're going to do. So we started with a really big photo. I resized it down for this tutorial. We put some curves on there. We didn't use those, but we used some levels. Curves, we put the yellow in there. Switched over to grayscale. Switched our curves, made that there. Sharpened it up again, what makes it pop. And there we go. Now we can save that. However you want to save it is up to you. I had this as a JPEG. You may require an EPS, and we save that on the desktop, and you're ready. We don't want to use ASCII unless you're on a PC. Okay, and 8 bits is good, but we prefer to use none. How you save it is going to be up to you. Include the transfer function. These are all things you need to inquire to your printer about, because your printer may require different options for you to save. And that's how we take a photo from color to black and white for commercial web printing.